Welcome to the Rewards Master Live, our second live session that we had here on the channel. I have a number of topics I want to cover today that I think will be somewhat interesting, things that relate to a lot of folks. The first is I'm going to talk about the very worst business class, the worst premium card that you can get on the market that's recently come out. And basically, for the worst, they've crowned a new champion. And so we'll discuss that a little bit. Also, I'm going to discuss a new point strategy of mine and kind of some snafus I've made along the way when it comes to booking last minute redemptions to get outsized value, which I've been trying to do and kind of made it into a plan in my own personal strategy. And I tried to do some recently and didn't work out exactly like I wanted it to. So we'll kind of go into that. Also, when we look at some other things, I'm going to look at Amex and transferring points to Alaska through Hawaiian Airlines. That's something I've just recently started to do. In fact, within the last week, I opened up a Hawaiian account and an Alaskan account and moved over a bunch of points and have been using some of those for future bookings and thought that would be a good thing to discuss as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about status and how important status is. In my particular situation, I've always had status for the last, 10 or 15 years on one airline or sometimes multiple airlines. But sometimes you have to decide, is it worth saving a few points and giving up your status benefits? Because you can't always use them across different partners. And so I recently had an experience with that was kind of troubling, and I thought that might be helpful to some folks. And then I'm going to talk about Alaska or Hawaiian credit cards. I don't have any of those because, like I said, I'm just now dipping my toe into Alaskan, but I've been super, super impressed with the different point redemption values that can be had with their system. And wow, for the time being, you don't need a Alaskan or Hawaiian card because you can just rack up American Express points and transfer them over. And I know that won't last forever. In fact, I don't know how long it's going to last at all. And so that's kind of another topic that I thought we could discuss together. So just put a little note in the comments. Let me know you're here. Love to hear from everybody. And I'll start to dive into some of these topics and hopefully get some discussion going around them. So the first thing I wanted to discuss was traditionally, there has been a king of crummy credit cards, and that is the luxury card collection. And they try to pass themselves off as these amazing cards. And, they did really, you can tell that they're a terrible card and they're a terrible issuer because they always advertise how heavy their cards are. Our cards are 22 versus American Express Platinum is only 17 grams or whatever the weights are. And, that's like a main part of their marketing. And so everybody in the space is always talking about how bad they are. I mean, on everybody's list this is the worst, quote, premium credit card that's available on the market. Rodrigo Mendez here. Always enjoy a credit card live. Well, it's good to have you, Rodrigo. Good to have you here with us. So these luxury cards, they have kind of held the crowning spot. I mean, they've been the king of crummy cards for a long time. They've got that, I think they call it the luxury black card, and it's like $495 a year. And then they had the luxury gold card that's supposed to be made with or plated with actual gold. And it's $995 and doesn't really offer anything different at all than the black card, but it's just got a little gold in the card. So it's supposedly worth so much more. Well, they have been the kings. Well, this is interesting because I think that they've been dethroned recently. In fact, when you go and you look at what they had to offer, it wasn't very good. Now, you could get with that luxury black card for $495, you got 2x airfare redemptions through the portal. Now, the thing though that makes that a little bit deceptive was they they didn't tell you what their cards earn. So the nearest way I know to understand that is that card, it just earns 1 cent per point on everything you buy, just 1 point per dollar spent. So when you think about those redemption rates, well, so what? So they're given 2x in the portal on airfare and 1.5x, I think, on hotels and stuff like that. Well, that's not terrible, but when you're only earning one everywhere on everything, that's pretty bad. And then they don't have any transfer partners. And so they just aren't good earning cards. And then they had a 1.5x on cash redemption. So you could get $1.50 for every 100 points instead of $1. So that was not great, but okay. It sounds good, but you don't have good earning rates on those cards. So that's partly why people thought they were so bad. We're talking about, for those of you who are just new here, we're talking about these luxury black card and how that has been the crown king until this last couple of weeks, the crown king of terrible, crummy premier credit cards. Well, then they had a global entry TSA pre-credit, which is almost like required, a standard on a high level card, on an expensive kind of premium travel card. They gave $100 travel credit, which isn't great, but it seemed pretty easy to get your $100. So that would reduce it down to basically a $400 fee instead of a $500 fee. And then this is interesting. They came with a priority pass membership, and I did a little digging, and that priority pass membership comes with restaurant access. So that's where, if there's a restaurant in the airport that you can use a priority pass, you can get, I think it's $28 per person for up to 2 people. So $56 if you're eating with your player 2 or with somebody you're traveling with. So that, I have that on my Citi Prestige card. I really like it. It's a really good feature. And almost all the other cards, American Express, Venture Card, even the Chase Sapphire Reserve, they don't offer that anymore. So I thought that's kind of interesting that this king of crummy cards, that their priority pass actually came with that restaurant benefit on priority pass. But that still didn't make the card any better. It was still awful. And you knew it because they were advertising, well, this card's great because it weighs more than other cards do. Yeah, like who cares? Well, all right. There is a new king of the hill, in my opinion. Tell me if you agree or disagree. But Barclays and JetBlue have managed to knock the king off the hill, and they should now be crowned with this new JetBlue. What's it called? The JetBlue Premium card. That this thing, Premier card, I think they actually call it. This thing is the new king of crummy high-end credit cards. I mean, it is. I think it's worse. I mean, you look at it and it does have a sign-up bonus, 70,000 points plus 5 mosaic tiles. That's kind of their metric for getting status on JetBlue. But when you dig into it, you're only getting the 5 mosaic tiles. You don't get them in addition. You only get those 5 mosaic tiles because you got to spend $5,000 to get the 70,000 bonus points. And you would have got 5 mosaic tiles for the $5,000 spend anyway. So that's kind of a little bit of misleading advertising there. So not great, not terrible, but not great. Then it gets 6x on JetBlue purchases, which that's a pretty good rate on an airline's own, from their own co-branded card. But then it gives 2x on dining and grocery and 1x everywhere else. So that shouldn't surprise us because airline cards just aren't good earners for the most part. I mean, across the board. And then you have both a global entry and a TSA pre-check credit. That's kind of expected on a card with that big of a fee. And you also get a priority pass. But the way I understand it, unless I misunderstood what I read, it's just the standard priority pass without the extra restaurant benefit or any of those extra services like massages and stuff like that you can sometimes get with the others. And then this is the kicker. Okay. It comes with a $300 Paisley credit. Now, I've never used Paisley, but the way I understand it, it's kind of a online portal thing where like an Expedia type thing where you can book like hotels or maybe rental cars, stuff like that. And $300 of a credit on a $499 annual fee card. Well, that sounds pretty good. But when you dive into this thing, it's not good at all. In fact, you dive into this, it is issued out in $50 credits for every $250 that you spend on the card. $250. So to get your full $300 back, you got to go through this, whatever it is, Paisley thing to book your hotels, and you got to spend $1,500 broken down into 6 different purchases of $250 to get the full $300 credit. I mean, that is atrocious. That is bad. That makes Capital Ones look like awesome. You just go through their portal and book one thing and you get a discount. That makes Chase's look great. That even makes the American Express Platinum coupon book look pretty good, right? Because you dive in and it takes a little effort to get the airline incidental fee credit, but you can use things like, the travel bank with United, or you can use with Delta and get use a gift card and then pay for the rest with your card. I do that all the time and you get your credit back. I mean, those are a pain, but they're not a pain to the level of having to book $1,500 worth in 6 different $250 increments just to get your credit back. I mean, this card is a dog. It is bad. And I think it's worse than the luxury cards. That's what I think. Tell me if you agree or disagree. But I think, especially when you consider that the priority pass that comes with that luxury card, even though it's a dog too, but even that one at least comes with the restaurant credit and $100 credit. I think it's easier to get the $100 credit than to get $100 on this other one. You'd have to spend $500 with Paisley in two different transactions to get $100 back on that card. So I think it's the new king. The king of crummy premium credit cards is the new JetBlue Premier card from Barclays. It is just bad, bad, bad. Rodrigo says, I wonder what they were thinking with that card. I don't know. I mean, whoever's on that marketing team or design team, I mean, I think they're terrible at their job, because there's nothing even to compare that thing to. I mean, it's bad. If it's worse than the luxury black card, which main marketing ploy is to tell you how heavy the card is, I mean, if it's worse than that card, it is bad, bad, bad. Kay says, what boggles my mind is that JetBlue had to sign off on this card. Why didn't they send Barclays back to the drawing board? They could have waited till their first actual lounge. Yeah, that does it with the priority pass. It does say that it's going to come with JetBlue lounges. I mean, but there aren't any, and they're supposedly coming. But I mean, you might have one coming in a year, and then you might have 2. And I mean, look how slow Capital One's been with rolling out their lounges. But there's just not going to be much to it. I agree. Okay, I mean, who on earth at JetBlue thought, well, this is, they're a business. They want customers. Who had the idea this is going to draw us in a whole bunch of customers? I mean, people are going to love this card, especially when you can get a high-level card. I mean, JetBlue is a transfer partner of some of the others. I mean, why would you just not use their top-end card and just transfer your points over to JetBlue? I mean, it just doesn't. I mean, I wonder if anybody, I wish I could see the data. Who's signing up for this thing? Because I just can't. I've tried to think about what would be a scenario where I would think this is a good deal. And there's just no scenario where it seems like a good deal to me. Tell me if you think that there's any way you could manipulate it where it would make sense for anybody in any situation. But for me, I agree, Kay. I agree, Rodrigo. I just don't see any way that this works for anybody anywhere. So the JetBlue Premier card, I mean, to me, it is the new king king of crummy credit cards. Rodrigo says, worst part is the welcome offer has family language. I know. I mean, but can we really say it's the worst part? I mean, all of it's the worst part. I mean, the whole thing is just, there's not really hardly any redeeming quality to the card whatsoever. So, I mean, it's just, I just can't imagine anybody. I predict it's going to be changed, or it's going to be canceled or not offered anymore within just a very short period of time, maybe 6 months or a year, because they're just not going to get anybody. I mean, who's going to upgrade to that thing? Who's going to apply for that thing? I mean, why have a product nobody wants? Just doesn't make sense. Just doesn't make sense. All right. So moving on to another topic. Recently, I have kind of adjusted my own point redemption strategy. If you've followed any of my videos before, you know that I'm kind of more of a maximum value type of person. And in other words, I am not one of these guys, and there's some of them that I respect immensely. I think of guys like Dugras with Dugras Reports. He tries to have everything covered by his points. And so point redemption value doesn't matter that much to him. Well, I'm in a different scenario where I fly a lot for work and that gets paid for. And, you know, we have a pretty robust travel budget. So if something's not a good point redemption, I just pay for it. So like, you know, I'm not going to burn points on $100 hotel stay or even up to $150 or $200 hotel stay. I'm not going to burn points usually on $150 or $200 flight, but I look to get maximum value. So when I look at things like the points guy or some of the other metrics that are put out there online about what point values are, they just never hold true for me. Because like, for instance, American Airlines, they say that they're worth 1.7 points a piece. I think that's the last valuation the points guy had. Well, for me, those things are worth, even on domestic. And how I divide it up is like my player two and myself, we both have American accounts with cards associated with them. So I use my player two's points for domestic travel, and I use mine for international. And I have figured that her points with American, they're actually worth to us more like 3.5 to 4 cents a piece, because you can often, in fact, I just did this week, I booked a flight that would have been $350 to $400 for 9,000 points. I mean, that's a really good value. And that's at the low end of what you're going to get with American if you're determined to only use them for high value. So the other one that is kind of a good example is on my stuff. I use it on my account for business and for first class travel. I mean, in pretty much last minute, I try to save it for last minute if I can. And you can get, just with American, I don't know if you've checked, but you can get incredible value last minute if you wait till like a week before. So what I've been trying to do is I've been trying, and when I say incredible, I mean like 14 cents per point is pretty easy to get, sometimes down to 10 or 12, sometimes even higher than that. But what I've been trying to do is to book something that's fully cancelable. And then when I get close in, like within 2 weeks, start checking every day. And then if I find something better, I cancel the old. And after I book the new, of course, you got enough of a point stash to do that. Arnold Alley says, hi, Rewards Master. I've been loving your videos. Keep up the great work. All right, Arnold, I appreciate that very, very much. Appreciate that very much. Rodrigo says, I was heavy on Avianca Life Miles for domestic United flights. This last evaluation really hurt, though. Really leaning towards AA now. Yeah, I have kind of a bunch of captive Avianca points too, because I'm also different in that, you know, everybody's advice is don't just speculatively transfer with transfer bonuses. I do it all the time. I mean, all the time. Only to programs that I think, like, I would never do that, like to an ANA. I don't even know if they do point transfer bonuses, but I would never do it to one of those. But the ones that I found value consistently, for instance, like British Airways, Air France, Air Canada, and Avianca, I have moved a lot of points, but I had some over there because you got to transfer points to Avianca every 12 months or they're going to expire. So I'm pretty much when a transfer bonus comes on, I'm transferring at least a few, and so I do that all the time. But yeah, my Avianca, the problem is that I still like their point values okay. I mean, they're not as good as they used to be, but I have trouble finding award availability. Rodrigo, do you have that problem? I mean, I've had a lot of trouble finding United award availability with them on the flights and the routes I want to take. So that's kind of been a struggle for me. So as I was saying, I am trying to do this: book something, get close in, look, and then cancel. So what I did is I had a flight coming up very, very soon. I went and I had a booking, awards booking on American. I got close and I was doing this strategy and looking, and I saw that there was that same flight for 9,000 points. And of course, on American, it's like $5.60. So I was like, oh, that's awesome. So I bought it and then I canceled the other one. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say this. We all make mistakes. I should have checked it beforehand because I was sure that I'd spend at least 12,500 or 15,000 on that flight. Well, I booked it a while ago and I must have found a deal of deals because I got back 5,500 points. So I canceled a 5,500 point redemption for a 9,000 point redemption. So I lost 4,000 points. I mean, it's embarrassing to say. It hurts. So not very reward master of me, was it? But so what ended up happening is I did make it right. In that I went and like I said, I'm brand new to Alaska, but I moved over a whole bunch of American Express points to Alaska. So I got on there and I found the same flight for 4,500 points. Now it costs a little more. It's like $18 because they have that $12.50, booking fee that's non-refundable or whatever, but that was worth it to me. So then I canceled the 9,000 point one and I ended up only spending 4,500 points, which I would rather burn my American Express points on that anyway than my American points. So, and they're Alaska, but I transferred them to Hawaiian and then over to Alaska. So that's kind of my little story. And I guess the moral to that story is know what you spend on stuff before you go buying something else and refunding it. It's when you have a lot of redemptions like I do, it can be easy. So in the future, I promise you, I will not make that mistake again. I will dive in and I will do my best to figure out what I spent before I buy something else and cancel it. But that's kind of my story on this last minute strategy. But in the end, it worked out because it only cost me 4,500 points. Somebody else done any of those? I mean, Alaska has some great, great redemptions within the United States. And what's been most impressive to me is that it's like they've got those rates almost every day. I mean, I see them all the time. I don't know why they have so much award availability for partners, but I mean, I see those. And if it's a short distance, like under 700 miles, it's like 4,500. And then it goes to 7,500 if it's, I don't know, under 1,500 or something like that. And then it all the way across the United States, it's only 12,500. So that's really, really a good redemption. Rodrigo says, yep, United has reduced the amount of seats they release by their partners to their partners. But when you do find them, I was getting amazing value. Now it feels like I might as well just get United miles. Prices shot up. Yeah, I'd love to know, Rodrigo. I haven't done that in a while with Avianca. I've done it before, but not probably in the last 6-8 months. So I'd be curious what their rates are. I will say, though, I do hoard United miles some because I can find good business class redemptions. I think 80,000 points is a decent business class redemption because they have some really, nice products to fly with their partners. But as far as domestic travel, I just don't see the cheapest I ever see is 15,000 points. I think I did one in the near future with that, but I'm curious what it is with Avianca, what you found there. Okay. Kay says, what are your thoughts on leaning hard into the 35% rebate in Amex travel with the business platinum. I'm currently Chase, but I can't earn UR points faster than I can earn MR points. I'll use Aeroplan. Um, yeah, it's, I don't do any portal bookings. And I mean, I think that works great for some people, and I don't disparage that. But like I said, since I budget enough to be able to do some, pay for things that are below a certain point value for me, I just pay for it. So if it's a $200 or less flight, I'm just paying for it most of the time. If it's a cheaper hotel, I just pay for it. So I try not to get under a 3 to 4% per point value, 3 to 4 cent per point value. So the 1.5, or I think in the case, and I have the business platinum, but I think in their case, it ends up being with the 35% discount, a 1.54 cent per point value. And that's just below the threshold that I shoot for. But if you're going to use a travel portal, I think that's the best deal. I mean, that's even better than what Chase offers with the Sapphire Reserve. It's better than what Built offers with their little bonus. The Aeroplan one, I understand, is very good. I haven't done that one before, but that's kind of my thoughts on it. I don't do any portal bookings except if I'm just trying to get my credits back, like with the Venture X or something like that. So that's kind of where I'm on that. Mike Newland come in and says, "Good evening, everyone." Hey, Mike, good to have you here. Kay says, Avianca, when I can, but my main idea is that business platinum. My hub is EWR, and we're a family of four. Okay, now that is a little different scenario too. See, because it's just me and my player too. We're not booking flights for kids or a family. And I think that you have to totally reevaluate the game when you're planning for an entire family. And especially if you're trying to get like 4 business class tickets together, that is just really tough. It's hard to get great outsized value with that. So, okay, I feel you there. I think that's definitely an issue. Mike Newland, welcome to Reward Master Insiders. Hey, thanks. Great to have you on board. This is probably a good time to talk about my channel membership, Reward Master Insiders, something I just started just a couple weeks ago. It provides both insider videos. I've got 2 or 3 of those up already. And I think one of the greatest benefits that I'm going to be able to offer is I love outsized point redemption. So I'm putting polls on there periodically where I ask insiders, hey, what place would you like to go? And what month would you like to go? And then I'm going to do research and report on the best deals on business and first class flights that I found to that location in that particular month from the United States. So those are just for Reward Master Insiders only. Also, I have different polls and things on there, but it's only $2.99 a month. There's a link in the description of this video, or there will be when I get it adjusted. And if you want to join the channel, $2.99 a month, you can cancel anytime. There's no obligation. So thank you, Mike. Good to have you on board. Really good to have you on board. All right. The next topic that I wanted to discuss is the Amex to Alaska strategy through Hawaiian. So like I said, I'm brand new to this. I just got my accounts with Hawaiian and with Alaska. And I will say that worked pretty seamlessly. It was easy to do. So what I did is I went in there and just opened both accounts, transferred the Amex points over to Hawaiian, and then you've got to go to like the point.com website or something. It'll tell you on Alaska's website. And then it was pretty seamless and easy. You got to log into both and then move them over. But I moved over well in excess of 100,000 points, and it worked seamlessly. I mean, in seconds, I had them over there. And then I started really getting heavy into looking at these Alaska redemptions. And I have been very, very excited about it. I mean, I love great value. And for my stuff that is within the United States domestic travel, it's going to give great value. I mean, 3 to 4 cents per point value if you pick the ones that got the good saver rate, which they have just tons of availability. I was blown away by that. And then on their business class stuff, especially when you consider that Alaska allows a stopover, I think it's going to be a great, great deal. But what I wanted to mention is, what do you think a good strategy is? Because until the points parade of American Express being able to transfer ends, and we don't know when that's going to happen. I don't need an Alaska card and I don't need a Hawaiian card unless I just wanted the bonus, which I might do. But because I can earn a ton of MR points, I mean, even with sign up bonuses and all that stuff, I can just earn a ton of MR points. So should I just move those things over and just spend? And how many MR points should I keep versus move over? So what I'm kind of doing right now is that when I get a chunk of MR points, I'm just splitting it down the middle. Half of it's going to Hawaii and then over to Alaska, and I'm keeping the other half in my kind of war chest of MR points. So I'd be curious what some of y'all's strategies are on that. I mean, are you just moving them over knowing that points parade's going to end as fast as you can? Or are you kind of holding back, or maybe you think of MR points as being better than Alaska miles? I'm curious because I'm trying to figure out and kind of navigate my own strategy on that moving forward. All right. Cesar Joel says, hi all. Welcome, Cesar. Good to have you. K1 DCAT 37. Hey, I've been loving your content. Well, K1, I'm loving you being here. So thank you so much. Mike says, if you have a Hawaiian credit card, you share miles with your family for free merging them. That is something. Now, we don't have one of those yet, so I didn't really talk about it but I did know that exists. So I think it works, and tell me, Mike, if I'm wrong about this, but I think it works that if either party has a Hawaiian card, you can move those points back and forth between you. So that means that both player one and player two, if you have MR burning cards, you can move them over to Hawaii, and then you can pool them all together and then move them all over into one Alaska account, which is just crazy good to be able to do. I mean, that is just crazy, crazy good. Cesar says, Alaska miles are great. That's what I'm finding out. I'm brand new to them. I'm still with them in American miles. I'm just like, I don't know which one's better. I mean, it seems like last minute, Americans still got them, but maybe looking farther down into the future, that maybe some of the redemptions with Alaska are just a little bit better. So I'm not sure which one I like better as of right now. Rodrigo says, the legend Cesar Joel has arrived. Yes, he has, and we're glad to have him here. Hey, Rodrigo, Cesar says. Mike says, we just moved 100K over to Alaska with no plans yet. Well, I think it's a safe place to store them, especially since that points parade is going to end someday. So I think it's a safe place to store them. So I think that's smart move. Like I said, I did the exact same thing. Starting to use them now on some domestic flights, but yeah, it's a good idea. Cesar says, I moved and used 220K. I don't like speculative transfers. So moved them and used them. That's churn them and burn them, or earn them and burn them. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Rodrigo says, I transferred as much as I could. I'm anticipating being able to use them before a devaluation happens. It's a gamble. Hey, that's absolutely true. The thing is that from what I've heard, I really like the frequent miler guys. I think they're really smart, and I watch them a lot, and I kind of credit them to getting me. They've kind of fit my travel style, so I really like their content. And I think they were talking about, because Alaska just set things up the way they are, they kind of don't expect them to have a big devaluation very quickly. So, hey, K1 DCAT 37 gave a $5 super chat. I think that's my first one. That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you, K1. I appreciate that so very, very much. That's, first ones that's a big, big deal. So I really, really appreciate it. All right. Mike says, yeah, that is true for free. Yeah. So if either person has the Hawaiian card, you can move stuff back and forth. Cesar says one good redemption with Alaska is uh, Philadelphia to Madrid costs 55,000, but plenty of availability for business class to Madrid. I'm assuming that's on American metal. I'm guessing that's what it is because Philadelphia is one of their hubs. So tell me if I'm wrong about that, Cesar. But yeah, that's 55K on a business class flight over to Europe. That's a good redemption to me. And you may see it different. Tell me if you do down in the comments. But I think that any business class flight redemption over to Europe or back from Europe, my standard is if it's 80,000 or under, I consider that to be a pretty good redemption. And I shoot for less. I mean, sometimes you can get them. I mean, we did one with Iberia business class. And oh, by the way, everybody dogs on Iberia business class. I mean, all the reviews I watched before we went on it were how bad it was. My player two and I, we had a great time. In fact, we compared it to United Polaris, and I didn't find any difference. I thought it had even a little bit better service, even a little bit better food. The seat was awesome and modern. So I think we're on the A350, and I've heard some say that, some comments on the video I did about it is that maybe that's better than the A330 or some of their other products, but it was awesome. And it was 34,000 points each. So that is a super good business class redemption. But to me, anything 80 or less is reasonable. And yeah, that when you talk about a 55,000 redemption to Madrid from Philadelphia, that's really good. And Cesar says, and low taxes. Yep. If you're flying on an American carrier, domestic carrier like American, United, or Delta, their taxes are going to beat everybody else's. I mean, really, really cheap. K1 DCAT 37 says, I've been EXP with AA for about 4 years now, and I prefer AA miles for availability, but I also generate a ton of AA miles from work. AS miles are great for domestic and economy international. Yeah, I'm a platinum pro, and I've been executive platinum, and I'm kind of different, I guess, because I do have a lot of work travel and have for years and years and years. So I have been kind of the higher mid tier. So that would be platinum with Delta, platinum with United, platinum pro. And then I've been at times the highest tier with all three of the domestic big boys. I've been that way with United for years and years. I'm currently platinum with Delta, and I'm currently platinum pro with American. So I think I have a pretty good comparison or ability to compare them. And so, yeah, I'm the same way. I still covet. I mean, I love my American miles because they are just so valuable and they're hard to earn. That's why I really kind of hope that Citi doesn't become a transfer partner, because I'm afraid that'll trigger a big time devaluation. Because Citi, man, you can earn a lot of points with Citi. So who knows how that'll work. All right, Cesar, sometimes it's hard to get he says ability. I think he means availability with Iberia, and with Alaska, there's plenty. So yeah, that's true. 55,000, that's great redemption. And that Iberia can be tough. It was pretty easy when I got it, but it's been like a year ago. And so it can be hard to get. Rodrigo says, a little bit off topic, what are your thoughts on Delta cards? Thinking of the Delta Business Gold, I think Delta miles might be decent for domestic travel with takeoff 15. Well, Delta, they call them Sky Pesos, and there's a reason for that. The problem with Delta is if you're flying domestically, sometimes you can get kind of so-so value. And I'm just being straight about this. I have the Delta Reserve card. I am a platinum flyer with Delta. I did it through a status match, and I did enough to keep it for another year. And I've tried it. I'll shoot straight with you about what my impressions have been with it. I flew them probably 10 or 12 times last year, and I don't think I got a single upgrade to the front of the plane. I did get Comfort Plus almost every time, but I didn't really get any upgrades. But I think I'm going to keep the Delta Reserve, or I might go into a mode of downgrade, upgrade, downgrade, upgrade, like I do with some other American Express cards, because you know, the Delta Reserve is pretty easy to get value from. I mean, it's a lot of money, $650, but wow, you get a free companion ticket. That's could be worth the $650. I use that Resi credit every month. That's $20 a month, $240. That has the $200 Delta stays. It has the ride share. And I just found out you can buy kind of cash on Lyft and it'll trigger the rideshare credit. So it's easy to get that. So I might just keep the Delta Reserve, even if I don't fly them most of the time. That way I get Centurion Lounge access. And when I do fly them, I get, Delta Sky Club access, just because it's like a pretty easy card to get all your money back. I mean, but as far as their miles, the Takeoff 15, I mean, I pull all three up. I pull up American. Now I'll pull up Alaska too, but I pull up American, I pull up United, I pull up Delta. And even with the Takeoff 15, my experience has been, it's still always more expensive. Always. Every single time. And their cards don't earn that great. I've had the gold, not the business gold, but I've had the gold. It's okay. I mean, basically you get a little bit of a stays credit and then you get, free check bags. So it's all right. But that's kind of my impression of it there. All right, let's go back to the comments here. Rodrigo says, Cesar says, Iberia is very good. Yeah, I'm glad you had a good experience on them too. Today I booked Air France 120K for 2 business class to and from France. There you go. That's 60,000. Everybody's talking about their devaluation, and they are a little more expensive, but they're still and they've got a lot of availability. At least that's been my experience. So that's pretty good. It used to be 50K, but still a good deal. I agree. Cesar, I agree. He says, Rodrigo, get them for the bonus. Most times I use Delta miles for upgrades on paid domestic travel. Yeah, I've done that too. Or if it's like I'm flying my player too because she wants to go somewhere, or I'm flying some member of our family to see us or something, I'll burn them on that. I just don't find they're just never the best deal, at least in my experience. And if you guys have a different experience, I'd love to hear about it. Hotel stays credit is very good. Yep, Cesar, that's true. It's the Delta stays is easy to use, and I haven't found the rates to be that bad. At least that's been my experience. Rodrigo, thank you, Rewards Master. Thank you, Caesar. I'll probably go for it. Yeah, I mean, I've gotten those cards, and they do have like elevated bonuses right now, so that's not a bad plan to get those bonuses. Cesar says, yep, and repositioning flights. Yep, they work pretty good for that too. All right, next topic. I'm curious what folks think. I told you that I booked a flight on American Metal for 4,500 Alaska points. And I canceled one on American Metal that I booked with American points that was originally 5,500 points. And then I made a mistake and canceled that. And then it ended up being 9,000 points. So I got all those back. But here's the deal. I'm Platinum Pro on American. So I get things like the main cabin extra seats for free when I book. And so when I was doing my whole Alaska thing, I ended up talking to Alaska because they like put me on a hold or something, and they had to call me to finish the booking. So I asked the lady, I said, "Hey, I'm a Platinum Pro, which is kind of a high level with American. Could you put my number in there?" She said, "No, you can't do that with us." So I'm like, "Okay." So I get on the American site, and now I put in my record locator number or whatever, and it pulled up the flight. And I went in to choose my seat, and it doesn't show my status. So they're trying to charge me like $31 for my upgraded seat. So here's my question. Is it worth saving a few points to not have my status benefit? And the big status benefit, now I have the AA executive card, so and they're a partner, and I'm flying on AA metal, so it won't matter. So I can still use the lounges and all that. But not having those free, main cabin extra seats, that kind of stinks. So, I mean, how many points is worth it to have to sit in a worse seat? Now, it's not a super long flight, just a couple hours, but I mean, I'm kind of struggling with that because like it doesn't matter when we book business class because you get everything with business class anyway. But on these economy ones, it's gonna be like, man, I'm giving up my status to save 4,000 points or 3,500 points or whatever. So that's kind of something I'm going to have to decide on and figure out what to do going forward. Has anybody had that experience? I know with some, I haven't done it, but I've heard it said over and over. You can call after the fact or get online after the fact and change your what even though you booked them with points, you can change your loyalty number. And I think that would really matter if you're like flying international in economy and you want to be able to access the business class lounges, like with your Emerald status, with you know the the different alliance or whatever it may be. So I think with some you can do that, but she acted like on the phone you cannot do that with Alaska. So I don't know. I guess I'm just going to have to decide going forward. If you have any input about it, I'd love to hear it. Okay, Alaska and Hawaiian cards. Now, we're going to get into this, but if you haven't yet, please hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I'm right there at 700 subscribers. And of course, the ultimate goal is to march to 1,000. So if you would both like and subscribe, I'd appreciate that immensely. Also, I have RM Insiders. It's our channel membership, $2.99, no commitment. And you can cancel anytime. I put different videos online just for them that are kind of more higher level redemption stuff. And I do special redemption videos where I do the research on great point redemptions to different places. And then I let channel members help me decide how to research those, what places to go, when to go. So you can look into that if you're interested. But the last topic that I wanted to mention is Alaska or Hawaiian credit cards. I don't have any of those. And I know that this points parade with Alaska through Hawaiian from MR points is going to end very soon. And I'm just struggling to decide, is it worth it for me to try? I do not like dealing with Barclays, and I've never dealt with Bank of America. I have the problem of, even though my credit score is great, and because I've had a lot of, like a lot of us in this game, because I've churned cards and because I've had a lot of credit cards and inquiries and all that, sometimes issuers, I mean, Capital One, good luck. They ain't ever given me a card ever. But, at Barclays, that could be a problem. I don't know about Bank of America. I don't have enough experience with them to know how sensitive they are. But I'm trying to decide if I want one of those. Those cards, the Alaska card seems all right. I know if you spend $6,000, which wouldn't be an issue, you can get a companion certificate. But here's the problem: where I live and the airports I fly out of, Alaska doesn't fly to those. So I don't know when I'd use that companion certificate. I don't think that's good on partners. I don't think. If I'm wrong, let me know. But the other thing about their cards, I mean, they don't earn good. No airline cards earn good. I think it's Alaska metal, you get 3 miles per dollar spent, 2 for gas and transit, and 1 for everything else. That's just so. I think that if you have a Bank of America account, which I could open one of those for that purpose, you get like a 10% bonus or something like that. I just don't know, because I mean, I'm different than a lot in the game. A lot of my everyday spend, I just spend at 1x on my American card. And I might be doing that some on Bill card, and I might be doing it a lot to get a lot more points on, say, the Blue Business Plus or something, as long as I can keep transferring over to there. And that's because, to me, even though the American cards only get 1x on just general spend, you get 1x and you get 1 loyalty point. And that 1x, as I said, I use those points at a 10 plus cent per point value on my American points. So I'm just trying to figure out my strategy going forward, because I think I'm really going to value these Alaska points. So does it benefit me to either get the Hawaiian card, which will probably go away, so I'd just be getting it for the bonus, or to perhaps get the Alaska card for kind of long-term relationship and connection with Alaska? But I have a Bill card, and Bill does transfer to Alaska. So maybe it's kind of, and on the first of the month, I can go around and buy gift cards at different restaurants. I do that sometimes. And that is that's 6x on those purchases that'll go straight to Alaska. So I'll be curious what some of your thoughts are on that. So let's go back to some of the comments. Uh, Cesar says, I prefer status if there isn't a big difference. Right. Yeah. You're referencing back when I was talking about would I worry more about my status or worry more about saving 3,000 or so points. I mean, $30 worth of points. Yeah. I don't know that I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to have to decide, but my player two doesn't have status. So I'll just put her on those all the time. So, yeah. Rodrigo, Barclays is pretty straight with personal cards, only a pain with business cards. Okay. So their personal cards, I've had one years ago when I had a US Airways card, but it's been a long time. But my P2 does have the AA card, but she's not got near as many like inquiries and stuff as I do. So I didn't know. Cesar, risk it for the biscuit. He also says, those are some great miles to have. Yeah, they are. They're good, good, good. Dugras, hello. I think we already mentioned you at one point in this live stream, Dugras. Rodrigo, I'm hesitant to apply to the B of A Alaska card right now. I'm not sure if the premium Alaska card might come with some restrictions on the welcome offer with the existing Alaska card. Yeah. So in other words, if there's family language type thing. So you want to kind of wait and see if they have a really high value top level card, and that one will give lounge access. And so maybe that'd be good, but I have the AA executive card. So I already have access to Alaska lounges if I'm ever and they don't have that many places that I fly, especially. Sometimes I go to Seattle, so they have one there, and sometimes San Francisco. But I just I don't know. We'll see how that card is. And since I have American status, do I need that kind of Alaska status that can be earned? I don't know. So that's kind of where I'm struggling with it. Is the built card good enough just to use as basically my Alaska card to get Alaska miles because they transfer over and built multipliers? Well, they're not great. I mean, it's kind of like a cheaper Sapphire preferred card, right? But they're not great, but they're not awful. I mean, they're better than airline cards generally are, right? 3x, and on rent day you get, and they're about to start mortgages. Man, I'm going to rack up some points when they start that. So those can all go to Alaska. I'm just wondering, do I do that, or do I apply for other cards and just let my built rewards card be my Alaska card and then get the benefits from my American card? That's kind of the deciding thing I've got to work through. Okay, Dugras. Hey, brother Cesar, and my ears are itching. Well, yeah, you were mentioned earlier on in the live stream, so you have to go back and listen to that. Nothing bad though. It was all good. We all love and respect you, man. All right. Well, I kind of finished all of my topics that we were going through here. Thanks again to those who dropped in. And I mean, at one time we had 19 watching here. Got a new RM insider in Mike. Hey, Mike, appreciate that. I'm so excited about that. And then K1D Cat 37 dropped my very, very first super chat of $5. And man, I am pumped. I mean, I'll never forget it, man. It's the first one. So I appreciate it. So I want to, just before I sign off, again, tell everybody thank you so much. If you haven't hit the like button, please do that. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, do that as well. And I'm going to try to, I don't know if it'll be Friday nights or Saturday nights. And sometimes if I'm traveling and working, I won't be able to. But whenever I can, I'm going to try to do these live streams from time to time. So I'm about to sign off. Appreciate y'all. And I'll see you here next time.